But we begin this Sunday morning with the chance for justice, finally, and the DOJ's strike force, named last week to investigate evidence disclosed about the Russia collusion hoax, with a look at next legal steps as we continue to search for accountability for the biggest political scandal of our time. And after a bombshell week with DNI Tulsi Gabbard disclosing something this audience has suspected for a long time, that President Barack Obama may have been pulling the strings after Trump won in the November 2016 election, pushing a plan to muddy up the incoming president's name and handicap his new administration with a phony story about Russia. This past week, DNI Gabbard sent criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, and the DOJ announced the formation of that strike force to evaluate the evidence presented. Coming up, the timeline to destroying Trump's reputation, with the two men who saw it coming from day one, while exposing the Russia collusion with Trump made-up fantasy concocted by Hillary Clinton and her 2016 presidential campaign. CIA Director Dir Ratcliffe and Trump Media and Telecom CEO Devin Nunes are here. Just days after Director of National Intelligence Gabbard declassified the House Intelligence Committee report prepared in 2020 based on then Congressman Nunes' investigation that the intelligence community did not have any direct information or evidence that Russian President Putin wanted to help elect Donald Trump in 2016. Despite the assessment repeatedly listed in the daily presidential briefing, then President Obama ordered a new report which completely contradicted the original assessment. Here's DNI Tulsi with me here exclusively last Sunday.
The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017.
CIA Director Dir Ratcliffe will join me shortly. But first, a flashback to 2018 with me here 7 years ago.
It's very troubling. Again, all of this ties in. It's not just Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, Maria. What's important and significant about what Devin Nunes told you earlier is more than 70 witnesses appeared before the House Intelligence Committee. All of them were asked the same question. What evidence do you have of Russian collusion with Donald Trump or the Trump campaign? What evidence do you have of conspiracy? What evidence do you have of coordination? And they batted 1,000 in their response. These are folks like Susan Rice and Samantha Power, senior DOJ and department officials and intelligence and law enforcement officials, and they all said, we don't have any. So what we have known and what I want the public to see from these transcripts is that our law enforcement and intelligence communities have known for a while that there isn't evidence of Russian collusion with Donald Trump or the Trump campaign. And the sooner the public finds that out, the better off we'll all be.
And joining me right now, back 7 years later in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, is the current director of the CIA, once again, Dir Ratcliffe. Director, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Great to see you, Maria. Great to be back with you.
And thank you for all of your truth-telling over the years. We will speak with Devin Nunes, who opened this up wide so many years ago. But I want to get your reaction to what we're seeing now with Tulsi Gabbard highlighting the truth here, as you have done so many years ago.
Well, Maria, before the intelligence community assessment that DNI Gabbard was talking about, and before Devin Nunes' report about that intelligence community assessment, before the Mueller investigation, before Crossfire Hurricane, there was this. In the summer of 2016, U.S. intelligence intercepted Russian intelligence talking about a Hillary Clinton plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of Russia collusion, to vilify him and smear him with what would become known infamously as the Steele dossier. And Maria, this intelligence was so explosive that John Brennan briefed President Obama, Vice President Biden, Jim Clapper, James Comey, the entire national security team, telling them about this Hillary Clinton plan. Again, but think about this, Maria. That was in August of 2016, and yet it wasn't until more than 4 years later, in October of 2020, when I found, after an exhaustive search, John Brennan's handwritten notes and the underlying intelligence behind it that revealed exactly what happened. So for a 4-year period of time, the truth about the origins of the Russia collusion hoax was hidden from the American people. And unfortunately, Maria, as you recall, those same people were already at that point in time onto their next hoax, the Hunter Biden laptop. This was a month before the 2020 election. And unfortunately, what we saw with Joe Biden's election was another 4 years to be able to continue to bury the truth. And so it's only now, with Donald Trump having been reelected, that through D&I Gabbard, myself, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all of this intelligence, all of this evidence that's been hidden and buried from the American people is finally coming to light.
Yeah. We just showed a picture of John Brennan's notes, and I want to go back to those because you just referenced them. These are handwritten notes that John Brennan took during that meeting with Obama and the other top lieutenants, where he writes that Russia is aware of the Hillary Clinton plan to tie Donald Trump to a Russia story. And these notes is something that you highlighted many times, that Devin Nunes highlighted many times. Is this what you're saying was hidden, these handwritten notes and the obvious story right then and there in the meeting with President Obama, where John Brennan was writing notes down as far as what he was telling and discussing with that team?
Well, think about it, Maria. During that 4-year period of time, think about the countless interviews that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Jim Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan gave to the public, and testimony that they gave under oath about how Russia was involved in our election. And not one time, not a single time, did they ever reference what became verified intelligence, a Hillary Clinton plan. Verified, Maria, because in 2020, Hillary Clinton's own campaign manager took the oath under penalty of perjury in the trial of Michael Sussman and was asked about this plan and said, yes, there was a plan, and Hillary Clinton personally approved it. So all they did was talk about the fake Steele dossier, but never talked about the true intelligence, the true origins of the Russia collusion hoax, was that this was a Hillary Clinton campaign scheme. Yeah. Really incredible. And, Devin Nunes, your next guest, truly an American hero trying to bring these things to light. And again, now we have the opportunity to do exactly that.
Yeah, he sure is a hero, and so are you, Director. Look, our audience knows this, thanks to you and thanks to Devin Nunes. Our audience is well aware of what took place here, but we want to see accountability. Many of the statute of limitations have expired. It's been almost 10 years for many of these folks who did this. But John Brennan testified to Congress, and so did Hillary Clinton, within 5 years. I think it was in 2020, right, and then again in 2021. Are those statute of limitations still live? Tell me if, in fact, we could see a criminal prosecution here, as you just the other day, 3 weeks ago, have, in fact, referred criminal referrals to the DOJ.
Well, Maria, so part of what came out last week was about how John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all pushed the known fake Steele dossier into intelligence community assessments and as the basis for Crossfire Hurricane and all that. But what hasn't come out yet, and what's going to come out, is the underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice, that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims, by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex what that reflects. And so, you know, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, you know, seeking retribution. It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020 from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. D&I Gabbard has made referrals, and why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
Director, one other question on this. Tulsi, as well as President Trump, used the word treason. Is there a statute of limitations on treason?
Well, Maria, what I would say is this, is there is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
We'll wait for that John Durham report and the annexed classified declassification and release of that in this week or in the upcoming weeks. But real quick before you go, Director, not only did the Russia collusion lie destroy people's lives, rip the country apart, but it also diverted energy and resources away from the real threats. So you have people like Adam Schiff, who is now a senator, completely ignoring the fact that Americans were relying on China for their critical elements that we need. For example, today, we rely on 90% of our prescription drugs for China. They're made in China. And so all of this was 100%. Going on, and they were yelling, Russia, 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 and in fact, not even focusing on the actual threats. That, in my view, is a dereliction of duty.
Complete 100%, Maria. Completely agree. And don't limit it to China. So the mess that we just cleaned up, the Trump administration cleaned up with regard to Iran and its pursuit of a nuclear weapon, what's happening in Ukraine with Russia that we've inherited, and of course, our greatest geopolitical threat, China. All of these people helped build China. They helped create the threat that China is, that Russia is, that Iran is, because they put politics in front of national security. All of these people are responsible for the threats that we're facing as a country right now. But the good news is, Maria, the good guys are in charge. And as Donald Trump is very clearly showing, we are fully capable of undoing the damage that they've done and addressing the threats to America by using law enforcement and the intelligence community the way it's supposed to be, to protect the American people, not to go after political opponents with fake, fraudulent schemes to maintain power.
Really, really important points. Director, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Great to be with you. Thank you, Maria. You're an American hero as well.
Thank you so much, sir.